What's up, y'all? It's your girl Cornelia back for another episode of Black News, a podcast where we break down current events, hot topics, and local stories involving Black people. Now let's get into it. First things first, this episode starts off with a topic that is very heavy. It is traumatizing to some. Hell, it's traumatizing to all, especially to Black people. So just giving you guys a heads up in advance before you even start listening to it. It is in regards to the recent mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. So instead of my usual first things first, thanking y'all, but of course, thank you. I just do want to give you guys that heads up in case you're not necessarily feeling like taking on that particular topic or hearing about it, or you just want to protect your mental health and well-being. I understand. Also, my thought, it's all over the place because as you, I am pissed off, I am angry, I am sad, and I am defeated, and I am fired up. So with all of those things in mind, I am going to talk about it, break it down. Feel free to share this podcast with your friends and family and continue supporting. All right, let's get into it. This past weekend, we were witness to another tragic mass shooting, another racially motivated mass shooting. Another mass shooting where our people were targeted yet again at the hands of a white supremacist terrorist in Buffalo, New York. So this past weekend, 10 people were killed, 3 people were wounded at Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York, in the predominantly Black neighborhood within Buffalo. And they were gunned down by an 18-year-old white man who drove 200 miles wearing body armor with the N-word racial slurs written on the barrel of his gun. And at the hands of this man, they lost their lives. People ranging in many different ages at the store for many different reasons. Employees, police officers, all that. So let me first say the names of the victims and then talk more about this situation and just our overall feeling and thoughts around it, even though our feelings are the obvious and the same that they have been for the last however many years. Now first, the victims within the shooting: Celestine Chaney, age 65, Roberta Drury, age 32, Andre McNeil, age 53, Catherine Massey, age 72, Margus Morrison, 52, Hayward Patterson, 67, Aaron Salter Jr., age 55, Geraldine Talley, age 62, Ruth Whitfield, 86, Pearl Young, age 77. Those were the names of the people who unfortunately lost their lives at the hands of a white supremacist terrorist. Now, y'all know we are tired. Black folks are exhausted. We have been dealing with this in these types of situations while it has transformed over the years and turned to gun violence. We have been dealing with terrorists at the hands of other people since we were stolen and brought to this country against our will. But now we see it being taken to another level. We are in 2022. We feel like we should be beyond this, but this is just a continuous cycle. And one thing that makes this even worse, this dude had the audacity to live stream the shooting on Twitch. So not only do we have the situation where he is he is in charge of or leading a terrorist attack against black people, he's streaming it live. So real quick, pausing real quick, the white boy pleaded not guilty. He was taken alive. He was not killed on the scene, because we know police officers are able to de-escalate and they are able to not shoot people and take them alive. They're just not able to do that with black people. When it is unarmed black people, they for some reason have forgotten and lost all police training, all weapons training, all common sense, and then somehow always happen to shoot us. But when it comes to terrorists in this case, oh no, we can take him alive. Oh, don't worry, we've been trained. I literally feel like I've been arguing all day on social media about different points. That has been one of them. Why all of a sudden do police know how to they know how to disarm somebody? And low key, I'm waiting to hear if they took him to get some food like they did Dylan Roof. But I digress. Also want to add real quick, just with that top line, that high level of scenario about what happened, a man being, shooting some people in the parking lot, going inside the store. I even saw the video. They clipped a piece of his live stream where he was about to shoot a white person, and the white dude was like, oh my God, no, no, no. And then the gunman was like, oh, I'm sorry, and moved on and didn't shoot him. Okay. Adding first, if these things were happening in another country, if citizens were having terroristic acts and doing this in a way to their citizens, the United States State Department would advise us not to travel to that country anymore. If this were happening somewhere else, where black people or any large groups of people were being gunned down by their own citizens, the United States State Department will issue a notice and say, we do not advise you to travel to that country. It's just so interesting how it can happen here, but no, everybody seemed to be just fine. Continuing on. One of the things that has come out about this situation and throughout is this term or this phrase, white replacement theory. That's been thrown around recently. Apparently, the boy wrote a manifesto and attributed all of this in this situation he attributed to that theory. And what it is it's invoking the racist idea that white Americans are at risk of being replaced by people of color. Known as replacement theory, again, it was linked to the far right and has become increasingly mainstream. Now, I feel like we always knew that those were the undertones, but it's, I'm not shocked, but I am, and I don't want to say the word glad, but there's a phrase for it, and I feel differently knowing that our feelings actually have a phrase and a name to it, because we've been talking about this for the longest. There seems to be a fear that with the looming threat of white people no longer being the majority in this country and being the minority by, I believe, 2040 or 2050, with the borders being open, those things have a certain demographic, and by certain I mean white people in America, white Americans, scared that they will become the minority in this country. So all of the recent efforts and initiatives are to stop that on a national level, and in this case in Buffalo, New York, on a personal, localized level by random ass clowns. But to me, what it's saying is this idea that now far right media, social media, misinformation, lack of critical thinking, all of these things have attributed and has fed into the mindset and the psyches of the dumbest of the dumb. And now they are sitting at home trying to figure out ways where they can stop whiteness from dying out. And in this case, they think shooting black people in Buffalo, New York is the way. And all of this, throughout all of this, we've been fighting for just to keep books from getting banned. Y'all think books were the problem? Y'all think books are the problem? I also want to say this, because I don't buy into this idea that there's people don't know that somebody is at their breaking point, or how could we have predict this? He's a lone wolf. He's troubled, the mentally ill. I'm not buying that no more. And I feel like we need to start doing more things to make sure that there are repercussions for people's actions versus letting them kill everybody, locking them up, going to court, and they sitting in jail. Honestly, I think we're to the point where now a way to combat this, and it may not work, I'm just throwing ideas out there. We need to start holding people's families accountable. This man was 18 and he is no longer a minor. But if we got to the point where you started holding the people around them accountable, similar to how the little white boy in Michigan brought the gun to school and the parents were on the run because they were about to get arrested too because they gave him the gun. There's nothing you can tell me that won't make me believe that this dude who shot up these people in Buffalo, New York, that his family and friends didn't know that he wasn't shit. When somebody ain't shit, everybody know they ain't shit. If you got a son in the family ain't shit and he crazy, guess what? Your mama knew he wasn't shit and he was crazy. His daddy knew he wasn't shit and he wasn't crazy. His siblings knew he wasn't shit and he was crazy. His friends, if he even had them, knew he wasn't shit and he was crazy. People around him knew he wasn't shit. So when people go off the deep end and they do something like this, the village around them, at some point, maybe we need to start holding them accountable, because I bet you one thing, if people started getting locked up or in trouble for allowing their peers and their family members to go off the deep end, if they started getting in trouble and being held accountable too, I bet you they'd do a better job of checking it. I bet you it wouldn't be as out of hand as it was. And maybe it will be. Maybe it won't work, but ain't nothing you could tell. You are not about to sit up here and tell me that ain't nobody know he was off the deep end. Hell, there were reports that he had mental health checks and was threatening people less than a year ago. Lock his mama and daddy up too. They gotta go. And I also want to talk to us Black people for a minute about how we address other people moving forward. Because what I am so tired of seeing in situations like this is when there are Black people being murdered, attacked, and mass shootings, or situations, the unfortunate situations like George Floyd being killed, or Philando Castile, or Freddie Gray, and Breonna Taylor. So many names. We always start to see what next. Well, what about Chicago? Black on black crime? Is that an all-time high? Why don't you guys speak up when Black people kill Black people? We need to collectively talk about how we address those comments moving forward, because at this point, it's dog whistle, and it is trolling. One, we know the term Black on black crime is now purposely used to shut Black people up when they talk about violence against them. That is literally what other people say to get you to be quiet, because they think it's a trump card. It's the way for them to say, you can't complain about this because Black people kill other Black people. Y'all know this. I'm just saying this so we can all kind of be on the same page, because I know the Black news listeners, y'all up on it. Okay. Y'all on point. Ain't no such thing as Black on black crime. Because if there's a such thing as Black on black crime, there's a such thing as white on white crime. There's a such thing as Asian on Asian crime. But you never hear those phrases thrown out, do you? No. Why? Because it's not valid. Crime is committed within proximity. People are more likely to kill and hurt and harm people who live closest to them. And where do we tend to live? In neighborhoods and communities with people who are just like us. Black on black crime is just a phrase that people use to try to get us to shut up. So when people say, what about Black on black crime? We then address it. And it's what I'm going to do. Feel free to do what you're going to do. But what I'm going to continue to do, and what's been successful to me, is to say, oh, that's crazy, because white on white crime is at about 80% right now. So it sounds like there's an epidemic on your side. What do you recommend as far as changes so we can get on the right path? There we have that. What about Chicago? What about Chicago? That has also been a phrase that people are trying to use to shut Black people up. It basically is saying you can't say anything and be alarmed or be upset or sad or angry that white people kill Black people in situations like this mass shooting, because in Chicago, this is happening. And to that, I like to respond with, oh, wow, since you're bringing up Chicago, that means you're really invested or interested in or know about what's happening there. Tell me, what's going on in Chicago? Since you know all about it, since you really care. Because I'm willing to bet that they don't know what's going on in Chicago and they don't care. That is, again, another phrase that is being used to shut people up. Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, it ain't even number one on the most violent city in America's list. But somehow people have gravitated towards Chicago as the end all be all in regards to relations between Black people. People don't give a damn about what's going on in Chicago. But again, I think now people see those as ways to kind of smush the conversation so that we won't continue to talk about situations that are happening to Black people. Because at the end of the day, anybody who said Black on Black crime, what about Chicago and all those things, they don't give a damn about us and what happens to us. But what I would like us to do, we need to censor what people have access to. Well, no, not even that. What I feel like we need to do, we need to start to block people from being able to even have these conversations with us and to be able to say these things. If you lack critical thinking skills, if you're not educated, if you don't read books and you easily buy into false narratives, you are not allowed to speak to us. If the last book you read in the last 10 years was Harry Potter, if you haven't read at least 3 books in the last year and a half about Black history, the Black experience, or the experiences of any other diverse population, again, in the last year and a half, you are not allowed to speak to us. We need to hold the line. The minute people, what about Black on Black crime? Tell me the last 3 books you read in a year and a half. And if you can't name none, we're not having no conversation because you're not worthy of the time. You have not done the research. You don't have the on the ground training, and you are not fluent and versed and educated enough to be able to speak to these matters or have these conversations. We need to hold the line. People are no longer allowed to talk to us about things that they don't know about. Start challenging and charging these fools up. Now, what can we do? Because we are angry, we are defeated, we are sad, we are traumatized, we are burned out, fatigued, worn out, frustrated. We are all of those things. We've been marching, we've been online, we've been donating money, we've been pooling our resources, we've been going to the meetings, we've been tweeting, we've been doing all of the things, and we are still back to this. Where do we go from here? Honestly, I don't know. But I do know racism and white supremacy isn't the problem of Black peoples to solve. We did not create it. This is not our structure. It has been forced upon and put upon us. We do not have the infrastructure and the resources to break down something that we are not maintaining and that we did not create. So that isn't one thing that we need to be doing. But we do need to continue to thrive, to excel, to have joy, to stunt on these hoes. Because one thing I'm going to tell you, one thing that makes them biggest mad is you stunting and living your life. We can track that all the way back to Black Wall Street. Why you think people got so upset? Because we just out here thriving. We have to continue to live and continue to do things in addition to challenging the status quo. With that in mind, I can keep going on and on and on, but we've been here before. We all know the assignment. We know what we got to do, and if you don't know, it's time for you to find out. Let me know how you all are feeling. Check in. How you doing? How are you doing? And I should have asked this at the very top of this particular block or this particular portion of the podcast, but we here now. How you doing with all of this in mind? Are you okay? If you are not okay, what will it take for you to get okay? Let us know. And also let me know your thoughts about how we move forward on this. Is there a game plan? What's the next steps? Maybe the next steps is just ensuring that we just keep on keeping on, regardless of what that looks like. But again, rest in peace to all of the people who lost their lives in Buffalo, New York. I am confident that that white man who killed them, the terrorist, white supremacist terrorist, he better go to jail. And I feel confident that he will. But this is America, so you never know. Let me know how your thoughts about all of this. Let me know how you're doing. Hit me up at Cornelia on social media. Aisha Pinky Cole gifts the entire Clark Atlanta class of 2022 with LLCs at this year's graduation. Shout out to Pinky, who is the Slutty Vegan founder. In case y'all don't know what Slutty Vegan is, it is that the vegan restaurant, now a franchise damn near. I believe her overall net worth is based on all her businesses and those slutty vegan restaurants. I think she had about over $100 million, y'all. You heard me right. 100 million. Shout out to her who gifted them during the commencement speech that she was tasked with giving and delivering at graduation 2022. Now, during the commencement speech, she said a few things, and I want to read some excerpts from her speech and kind of talk about it a little bit more. So she said one of the things first to explain what she did. She said, I've partnered with Borrow Bank to provide every single graduate in this audience with a new LLC and a path to entrepreneurship. Every single graduate in this audience will leave this stadium as a business owner. I didn't have a plan, but I'm going to make sure you do. Now that's really dope. And a couple reasons why. So usually when you go to graduation, there is a commencement speaker. If it's a good year, it's a celebrity speaker, maybe somebody that you admire. Not to say that celebrity speakers are better than others, but sometimes it's nice to hear from people who have achieved in certain industries, especially if it's an industry you are pursuing or have a likeness towards. Sometimes, a lot of times, the speaker is alumnus of the university. The late Chadwick Boseman was a commencement speaker for Howard University this past year. Taraji P. Henson was, again, like the Slutty Vegan founder, Aisha Pinky Cole. She was an alumnus of Clark Atlanta. Sometimes they're not. Barack Hussein Obama was a commencement speaker at Hampton University at some point in time. Okay, shout out to the president of POTUS. But, this situation is dope because, one, we've seen the recent trend over the last few years where people would come, commencement speakers, and they would announce that the debt has been paid for the graduating class. That's something that did not happen before. And at one point, you would start to feel like students were hoping, like, is this going to be the case for us? Which is, that is such a huge gift. And in this case, giving out LLCs is a bonus and a benefit, and it's just so thoughtful because we are now in an era of entrepreneurship. We have more aspiring graduates and people going into college, leaving college, even if they're not even associated with particular graduating classes, that are focused on entrepreneurship. So giving them an LLC is a forward thinking, in my opinion, to kind of say, I see the tone and the shift in our young graduates. They seem to have a thirst and a need and a desire to want to start their own businesses. Let me jumpstart that for you. So that was just all around dope. And it's nice to give students the feeling that you want them to start on a good foot when they graduate. A lot of times, some people leave college and they don't know what's about to happen. Yes, there are people who have internships and jobs lined up and they're prepared, or some go back home. But a lot of times, you just know you sick of school and you don't know what is going to happen. When I graduated, y'all, I didn't know what I was about to do. I ended up working at Enterprise in the Management Trainee Program, because they sell you on that, which is it's a fraud. Okay, well, I won't say it's a fraud. It's just glamorized car renting. But people don't know what they gonna do, and you don't know what you don't know when you go out into the world. So shout out to Pinky for doing that. Now, adding, she graduated in 2009 with a major in mass communication and media studies. She was crowned Miss Clark Atlanta during her undergrad in 2008. And she was initiated into Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Now, I didn't know she was my soror. I did not know that she was a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which makes this all so much sweeter, okay? But she said something else during the speech. She said, Pinky Cole had a business and lost everything. My car got repoed, got kicked out of my house, went flat broke, almost lost my mind. And almost 4 years later, she now owns and operates a $100 million vegan brand. She found inspiration in the losses. You think I was going to give up because of some failure? Hell no. And neither will you. Y'all, shout out to Pinky. Shout out to Pinky for this. Also adding at the cost for all of those LLCs was over $400,000. So she put up money for this, whether it's out of her pocket or foundations, a bank, who cares? That's a big bill, and it's a great graduation gift. And also, shout out to all the HBCU graduates, man. Shout out to the 2022 graduates from historically Black colleges and universities. Shout out to all the Black graduates in general, even if you went to PWIs, okay? We got love for y'all that go to PWIs. So shout out to y'all too. Also, this reminds me too, a lot of times people always say that going to a white school prepares you for the real world. I haven't been hearing that as much as I used to, and I'm glad I don't anymore. Well, I won't say anymore. It's not as prevalent, because that's just a bad perspective or a bad take. It's not true. Honestly, I don't think white schools prepare you more to be in the real world and to work with white people and interact. I actually think HBCUs do that more so than white schools. What I've learned about my HBCU experience and others, and seeing how my friends who went to PWIs walk through this world versus my friends who went to HBCUs, the PWIs may train you or teach you how to interact and how to be in these spaces that in predominantly white spaces, and to be observant of people who are not Black and their behaviors and the way they interact towards you. But going to an HBCU actually teaches you to walk in your full authentic self, and it teaches you to be proud and to know who you are, regardless of the scenario, regardless of the setting, regardless of where you are and who you're dealing with. And when you can be your authentic self and show up that way in this world, it don't matter who you're in front of. It doesn't matter. To me, the way you teach a young person how to be and how to interact with people of other nationalities, other backgrounds, other ethnicities, is to teach them the full power of themselves and the full power of their potential and their being in their own people. Then you will be able to interact and be your best self in all of these settings. So honestly, I think HBCUs prepare you more for the world, the real world, I'm doing air quotes, than any other school. But hey, that's just my opinion from somebody who went to an HBCU, okay? That's just my opinion. Let me know what y'all think. And let me know if you think the LLC was a great gift. If you think that was a good graduation send-off, a good gift. If you support the efforts. And if you've heard some other stories recently about people doing the same at the 2022 commencement speeches, hit me up on social media at Canellia. That's it for this week's episode of Black News, y'all. Thanks again. Thank you. And thank you again so much for sticking with us, supporting the podcast, liking and subscribing on all apps where podcasts can be heard, rating 5 stars, and leaving a comment. It helps more than you know, so I really, really appreciate it. And keep sharing Black News with all of your friends and family. Be sure to hit me up on social media if you got ideas for topics. Or just hit me up in general to let me know you've been listening. Let me know your thoughts. I'm at Cornelia on all platforms across the board. That's at Cornelia, like Kenny and Ophelia. Also check my website. I got some shows coming up in Los Angeles County. Hopefully get on the road soon. But for now, if you're in the LA area, hit me up. Check Cornelia.com for show dates and details. And as always, thanks again so much, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Keep supporting, keep growing, keep building, keep staying safe, and keep staying healthy. As always, again, I'll see you back here next time, same time, same place. Bye.